Meantime,
yeah, let's get back to
the meantime, what is our plan?
The fact development, did you guys want to take this on as a project?
We did discuss this, and I think we could be up there to bring everybody together that maybe has an interest in this. I've made some contacts with some folks involved, and track development would do that. We might even have a small amount of money would even fill with this. I'm not saying it'd be make a lot of difference.
Well, everything will help.
Well, and I told Adam about the Keep Our Beautiful grant. That's 15, and you have to be the eligible applicant. We'd be happy to write letters of support to get that. We might as well get the $15,000 if somebody else get it.
Adam started on that grant. Maybe he's almost done, I think, aren't you?
I visited with Adam this afternoon. There's already a letter of support from Chamber Main Street in the file for the Keep Iowa Beautiful grant. And we visited for a while, and just as Chamber Main Street, you know, we already did the design work, the Main Street Iowa architects did the design work for what could be done with the property once it's cleaned up. But if we can offer assistance, obviously we don't have monetary assistance, but if we can offer to do some kind of a capital campaign to try to raise some private dollars to help out with the project, or I know that there is a challenge grant coming up soon. If we can write a challenge grant, I know the demolition is not eligible, but any tuck pointing or repairs to the adjoining walls afterwards for mural or just to turn it into a green space for downtown, Chamber Main Street would be willing to write a grant and partner with the city and Sac Development Corporation and anyone else that wants to get in on it and help out with the project.
It could be an inviting place downtown. We do have money for mural too.
To get back to the basic issue here. You know, we've bandied a lot of figures about what it's going to cost to take care of this problem, but there's nothing in stone on this yet.
Adam would have to have that for the grant.
We'll have, like, we're just look at it. We'll have Richard look, but we do not have a bid. We have no idea for sure what this is going to cost. It's a little this, it's a little that. And you're asking the city to make a commitment for something that's open-ended. And I can't support something like that. And that's for the A part. The B part, because we do not know the liability. And I'm not so sure I want to be partner to open up the city for liability for the adjoining property on this.
So what happens if the building falls on someone then?
Okay, who's gonna fall on sure? You tell me.
I don't know if we're gonna let it sit there for another 5-10 years. As wet as it's getting out there, who knows what's gonna happen?
Okay, so right now you're asking the city to take a look at this and to spend an unlimited amount of money because we do not know what it's gonna cost.
We have a hand back there.
I guess I would just like to say that we can get the estimates on the building. The bottom line is something has to happen to it. These buildings are torn down in communities all the time.
Correct.
So liability is not an issue. It's a matter of getting it. I shouldn't say it's not an issue. There could be something that happens, but that's the rest of it goes with it. The bottom line is it has to happen. The other thing I'd like to say is that these buildings are an asset to our community. And maybe instead of trying to figure out how to tear them down, we need to figure out a way to try to keep them and end up shaping them whole.
Before they get to this point.
But going back to Matt, I don't think the council is opposed to putting some money in it, but our hands are tied once we start doing it with bidding and every other rule. We need a nonprofit like Sac Development started, and we be part of it to help and figure out a solution and get the community as a whole behind it and fix it. Or tear it down.
That's what I could support, but it has to take the city to walk in and go, okay, we're going to own this property, we're going to be the ones that are going to assume the liability. And Shirley, you had mentioned the third thing, that there's possibility of using funds that you thought other towns were using to do this. And you had it on your PowerPoint projection. You want to reiterate the name of that fund again?
That's your local option sales tax. How much do you get every year, Adam? $130,000?
Once you take out the debt service portion, you're talking about what's usable for about $100,000.
Okay, so now with that $100,000, so everybody can hear that Shirley has been talking about that's, quote, available for that. Adam, would you explain what we're using this $100,000 for?
Currently, the local option sales tax money, just to give you the last fiscal year, we used it for restoration on the Chautauqua building. We did it on replacement of the pool heater, playground work for this season is included in that.
but that's just a couple. Your CIP budget for the library is built into that. Basically all of our discretionary CIP funding is made up for the community entities, is basically made up of the local entities.
And that's what your capital improvement plan is for, but your referendum stated 20% property tax reduction and 80% capital improvement projects for that very money.
And that's why I said you can't count the 20 or 30, because that 20 or 30 goes to
So,
different.
now, you know, you just heard, and everybody else heard where that money is going. So, out of those things that Adam talked about, what would you like to see cut, Shirley? So we could use this money to tear down buildings.
I could think of something. But let me tell you something else, Nick, that you're not aware of. The city is the eligible applicant for Keep Our Beautiful. The city is an eligible applicant to Brownsfield to get 50% of the asbestos removal. The city can be the eligible applicant for a number of grants that Sac Development Corporation is not eligible for.
I
So
would be
either
happy to be part of that from that standpoint.
You also would be the negotiating party that would go to the county and say, nobody's paying any taxes on this. Are you willing to turn it over to the city so we can put that piece of property back on the tax roll somehow, or make it a public green space that's going to be a benefit to our community? But to turn all this stuff over to Sac Development Corporation, they can't apply for any of these funds.
Well, they can use the city, certainly we could figure out a way to use the city as the entity to apply for the funds.
The city
Steve
has to be the
Irwin?
owner.
Yes.
I could only discuss it, but the thought was not to try to just come to the council and have an open check. I mean, we want to try to put a plan together. That's the way I see
Right.
SAC Development's position. Try to just bring everybody to the table and see if we can figure out something. I don't, you know, I
I
don't
would serve as a
think
champion to this.
absolutely.
Right.
That's exactly right. And I think that needs said. Now, secondly, and this is on a personal note, I'm watching that PowerPoint. I mean, Matt's Shoes is one project. There's a lot of other ones. And I think there needs to be some kind of a long-term plan on what you do there. And I understand you have precedents that you don't want to set. But there still needs to be something dealt with on all of those issues that are up there. And I think Jim asked if SAC Development would be willing to work on this, and I think they will. My challenge back is, I'd like to, if we come up with an idea or a plan to work on all this, will you listen to that plan?
I'd be happy to listen.
Let's make it a two-way street.
I just don't want to have the city and the taxpayers be hung out there on a liability for a lot of these properties if the city has to take ownership of it. Because then all of a sudden it's all the taxpayers. And you take a look for the biggest bang for the buck. Okay, we used some of this money this year for a swimming pool to heat. Can you imagine how many kids in this town utilize that pool and we have to, okay, now we don't have that $30,000 to go put the heater in the pool, you know, and there's a lot, there's a lot of other things that it's not like we just don't have that money, but
Nobody
wants that, no.
But, Shirley had mentioned that this money was available, and I just wanted to point out where this money is going to go.
But these other things have to be dealt with too, and we got to somehow figure what we can do all to someone.
And the houses that are up there, some of those are not the biggest issue because they wouldn't cost that much to take down. But when you're talking about this commercial property, those are your big dollar items. So if you want to work on a plan to see this stuff happen, it's not going to happen overnight, but you got to start somewhere.
Pretty close to start, I think. That's what
Well, they just said they're willing to start and work together. Didn't I hear that, or was I hearing things wrong?
I'd be happy to support some plan where the city can contribute something, where individuals could contribute something, where, the adjacent property owners can help pick up some of this, so everybody can work together and try to take care of this. But I don't think the city needs to assume the 100%. My personal opinion.
Nobody's saying that, Nick. But they are saying that the city has to probably be the entity that applies for a lot of the things because nobody else is eligible.
Well,
Can
that's
the
part of
city
the
apply for it
plan.
without owning it?